Hi there, very good evening and welcome to the news tonight here on Rajya TV. We will get you the day's top stories from India and across the world. I'm Tracy Shilshi and here are the headlines. Tension continues in Gujarat. More army troops are called in as the death toll in the Patidar agitation rises to 11. High Court orders a probe into alleged police excesses. A second Pakistani terrorist is caught in Kashmir. 22-year-old Sajjad Ahmed was part of a 5-member gang of alleged infiltrators. Markets surge by over 500 points as Sensex makes a smart recovery after encouraging signs from China. Government unveils a list of 98 cities for its Smart Cities project. Uttar Pradesh tops with 13 places earmarked to be smart cities. And Usain Bolt runs the fastest 200-meter race of the year, clocks 19.55 seconds to win a record 4th straight world title. Justin Gatlin finishes second with 19.74 seconds. The Gujarat High Court has issued a notice to the Ahmedabad police chief asking him to probe alleged police excesses during the protest by the Patel community over the demand for reservation. He has been asked to complete the probe in 2 weeks. Meanwhile, tension prevailed in the state as the death toll rose to 11 today. While curfew remains imposed, army was deployed in more parts of the state to tackle the situation.
Prime Minister's home state remains tense 2 days after clashes over Patel community's agitation left 10 people dead. More forces have been deployed as violence triggered by detention of Hardik Patel, the convener of Patidar Anamad Andolan Samiti, spread to different parts of the state. Normal life in some parts of the state has been hampered amid stepped-up security. All schools remain shut in Ahmedabad, all state-run government buses remain off-roads, and internet services on mobile phones remain suspended. Train services have also been hit under the circumstances.
आर्मी के 2 कॉलम डिप्लॉय हुए हैं जिनका फ्लैग मार्च अभी शुरू किया है शहर में। कल पीस कमेटी की मीटिंग भी हुई थी और जो आंदोलन जिन लोगों ने शुरू किया है और जो उसमें शामिल हैं और जो लोग उसको सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं उनको भी आइडेंटिफाई करके उनके साथ भी मीटिंग पुलिस स्टेशन लेवल पे की गई थी। सूरत शहर के लोगों के लिए एक ही संदेश है कि अफवाहों पर ध्यान नहीं दें, शांति रखने में पुलिस की मदद करें।
The Gujarat High Court has asked Ahmedabad's top cop to probe the clashes on Tuesday. The police had lathi charged on agitating Patidars at the GMDC ground, sparking widespread violence across the state. The convener of the Patel agitation, Hardik Patel, has once again blamed the state government for the crackdown. He has also demanded higher compensation for the victims.
पहले पुलिस है, दूसरे नंबर गवर्नमेंट और तीसरे नंबर पर कुछ असामाजिक लोग। पहले तो जीएमडीसी ग्राउंड पर जो भी पुलिस अधिकारी थे उनको सस्पेंड किया जाना चाहिए इमीडिएटली। दूसरे नंबर पर जहाँ पर बच्चों की मौत हुई वहाँ पर जो अधिकारी नहीं, हम अधिकारी को नहीं बोलेंगे, जो कांस्टेबल है, पीआई है, पीएस है, उन लोगों को सस्पेंड कीजिए और भगवान जो शहीद हुए उनकी आत्मा को शांति दे। बस हमारा यही संदेश है।
In an attempt to intensify the agitation in the state, Hardik also asked farmers of his community not to supply essential commodities like vegetables and milk to cities in support of their demand of reservation under OBC quota. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
All right, for more on this story, we're joined by correspondent Vishal Dahiya joining us on the phone line from Ahmedabad. Vishal, just a few days back when we heard Hardik Patel, he was, of course, giving us a deadline, a 48-hour deadline, in fact, to the centre, saying that unless they agree to their demands, they would come up with something more serious that the government will be regretting. But today, while you were speaking to him, did you get the impression that perhaps they are stepping back a bit?
Well, if not stepping back, Tracy, then it can be termed as, taking a break or taking a sort of a, deep breather, doing a rethink on what they...
All right, we seem to have lost that link there with Vishal Dahiya, correspondent who has been tracking developments. Of course, he, spoke to Hardik Patel as well this evening, which we, of course, played out for you a short while back. And like he was pointing out, there was, of course, a 48-hour deadline that the Patel agitation, of course, being led by Hardik Patel, they had given. But by the looks of it, it does seem like their strategy is now to just wait for what the centre, or for that matter, the state government, plans to do. Meanwhile, the opposition has questioned the Prime Minister's Gujarat model of development amid the ongoing quota agitation. CPM General Secretary Sitaram Yechuri said that the agitation for OBC quota by the well-to-do Patel community has exposed BJP's Gujarat model of development, proving that it is not an inclusive model. Also, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi today directly accused Modi's politics for the anger of the Patel community and the current situation in Gujarat.
मोदी जी हमारे जो प्रधानमंत्री हैं, उन्होंने हिंदुस्तान में गुस्से की राजनीति की है। एक व्यक्ति को दूसरे व्यक्ति से लड़ाने की राजनीति की है। जब गुस्से की राजनीति की जाती है तो उसके देश पे असर होते हैं। वही आपको गुजरात में दिखाई दे रहा है।
It is extremely unfortunate and a very sad commentary on what kind of politics Mr. Rahul Gandhi is trying to practice. There is no appeal for peace, for calm. When you are seeing that there is a tension there, people are suffering, property is being damaged, people have lost their lives. There is no concern for any of that. All that he is concerned about is scoring a political point, almost like adding fuel to fire.
What Mr. Hardik Patel is agitating for is symptomatic of a much larger malaise which reflects the reality of Gujarat. Behind the image created by a great deal of organized propaganda of vibrant Gujarat is another image of Gujarat where 1/3 of the people of Gujarat are below the poverty line, in spite of the fact that Gujarat has always been one of the more developed states.
The farmers are unhappy. Agriculture production has gone down. Unemployment of the educated youth, the small-scale industry, the trade, everything has gone down. Those who voted for BJP in Gujarat are disillusioned and feel regrets about the BJP government, and that is the main cause of the agitation as on today.
All right, we're now joined back by Vishal Dahiya, correspondent in Ahmedabad on the phone line. Vishal, we were talking earlier about the strategy of the Patel community, especially of Hardik Patel. What does it look like as it's going to fold out in the next coming few days? Because as far as the state government's concerned, they're of course sticking to their stand.
Well, Tracy, what our sources say within the Patel and its leadership is that Hardik Patel is likely to try and reconnect with leaders of other communities which have been demanding, or rather which have similar demands from respective state governments such as Gujars in Rajasthan, Jats in Haryana, and again, some other parts of neighboring states. This is, one strategy which we are being told is something which Hardik Patel and others who are along with him are likely to adopt to try and expand that base. But let's not forget that similar appeal which was made by Hardik and day before yesterday in that rally in Ahmedabad, that was not heeded to by the Gujar leaders. They were not present out there. So it's going to be an uphill task for him and his colleagues from here onwards, trying and bringing in other community leaders of other communities on board. Second is obviously their own specific demand which they have put before the Gujarat government, the state government of Gujarat. There has been no satisfactory response. That's what the Patel community leaders say from the state government. They're not backing down from their demand of reservation within the 27% OBC quota. And they're saying that first the state government should go ahead and take action against erring police officers, and then they would be willing to talk to the government. So as of now, there is no development on that front. And for the state government also, it seems right now the priority is to bring back normalcy in the areas which were affected due to violence and restore law and order in those areas specifically.
All right, we'll keep coming back to you, Vishal, for more updates. Thanks so much for joining us for the moment. Heading on to more big news now, and security forces today nabbed a Pakistani militant during an encounter in Rafiabad in Jammu and Kashmir's Baramulla district. The arrested terrorist was identified as 22-year-old Sajjad Ahmed from Muzaffargarh in southwest Pakistan. He is now being shifted to Srinagar for questioning. 4 of his associates were killed in the gun battle. 1 of them was killed in the encounter yesterday, while the 3 were killed today. One soldier was also injured yesterday. Sajjad is the second Pakistani militant to be captured alive this month after Lashkar-e-Toiba operative Mohammad Naveed's arrest on the 5th of August.
And it will provide us a very important leads for security agencies to get into the bottom of the organizations and their modules. It will be a great effort on our part to really move beyond and to make categorically very clear that the Pakistan's involvement is not a question of allegation, but is a reality.
Once again, after Naveed, before was Kasab, now another person has been caught, a terrorist has been caught in Uri sector. It just goes to show the design by which the Pakistan is being guided, and therefore they didn't want the UFA agreement to succeed.
A live terrorist will obviously help us. After interrogation, I'm sure more evidence will pile up against the Pakistan government or the Pakistani army and help India in its international position on Pakistan.
Global markets went into correction mode today after a top official of the US Federal Reserve ruled out a September rate hike over growth concerns. Asian markets too rebounded after encouraging signs from China, where market volatility dropped off significantly. The Indian benchmark indices, the BSE Sensex surged 2.01% to settle at 26,231. The Nifty also climbed 2.02% to close at 7,948. Now, in the Chinese market, the Shanghai Composite Index ended up 5.3% higher at 3,083. The Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong was also up 3.2%, closing at 21,758. In Japan, Nikkei rose over 1%, ending the day at 18,574. And taking a look at the US, the Dow Jones Industrial Average finished at 3.95% higher to end business at 16,285. Also, the S&P 500 index gained 3.9% to close at 1,940, while the Nasdaq Composite Index added 4.24% to finish at 4,697. Well, analysts are saying that after the US Fed Reserve ruled out its rate cut, prospects of a rate cut here in India by the RBI have brightened. The bank's next policy review meet is on the 29th of September. The government today declared the nominations for the NDA government's flagship program, the Smart City Mission. The list includes 24 state capitals, with Uttar Pradesh heading it. However, key names like Patna, Kolkata and Bengaluru are missing. Here are more details.
The government kick-starting its flagship Smart Cities program. 98 locations will be developed as smart cities. 2 others will join the list later, one each from Jammu and Kashmir and Uttar Pradesh. UP heads the list with 13 smart cities. Tamil Nadu follows with 12. Maharashtra has 10. Madhya Pradesh will have 7, while 3 each are in Bihar and Andhra Pradesh. Bengaluru, Patna, Trivandrum, Kolkata and Puducherry don't find a place on the list. The names were selected through intra-city competition and evaluated on parameters like service levels, financial and institutional capacity and past track records.
I have consulted all the states twice, thrice, consulted municipal commissioners, had interaction with mayors, elected representatives of people. We need people's participation and cooperation. We need smart cities require smart leadership, smart people. Without their cooperation, this cannot be successful.
The centre earmarked 48,000 crore rupees for developing 100 smart cities. Each city gets central assistance of 100 crore rupees per year for 5 years. In the first year, the government will select 24 smart cities.
We are not just aiming at making our urban landscape look fanciful and flashy, and the prime objective is to enhance the quality of urban life.
Smart city features will include promoting mixed land use, housing and inclusiveness, walkable localities, open spaces, transport options, citizen-friendly governance and an identity. Each state will get at least one smart city with the quality of life that the government hopes will be comparable to European cities. The top 20 cities will be financed this year. The rest will be asked to get their act together, focus on deficiencies and prepare for round 2. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, for more on this story, we're joined by senior journalist Pranjal Sharma from the capital. Pranjal, if you could just give us an idea now, what do we look forward to as far as the shortlisted cities are concerned? If you could give us an idea who exactly benefits from it as well.
Well, Tracy, you know, the idea and the concept is very clear that it is part of the program of urban rejuvenation that the government has been talking about. And if you remember, this was even part of the manifesto of BJP that was announced before the general elections last year. Now, the thing is that giving the money to the cities is a fantastic idea. The challenges, unfortunately, are about the governance structure within the cities. You know, money is not always a problem in India, and at the city level, it's really how it is applied. So I think the government may also have to, at a national level, build some capabilities at the city level to ensure that the money is well utilized. How will it make sure that, for example, that drainage in all the cities is adequate? Even in a big city like Delhi or Bombay, as you know, in monsoon seasons, the city floods. So we have to look at very basics to ensure that the concept of smart city does not just talk about, Wi-Fi related issues, but also at very fundamental levels.
All right. And if you could just give us an idea on how the government is planning to do this step by step. They're going to, of course, go ahead with 24 cities first. Among them, some of the important cities that you could probably take us through. What happens in this process and where does the funding also come from? That's another criticism that's coming in from a lot of, industry experts.
Well, what happens is next is that each of these cities, there have been some pre-consultations with all the mayors and the representatives of the urban bodies that manage the city's infrastructure. Now, they will be requested to give a more detailed plan in terms of how they plan to spend this 100 crores per city, which has been promised to them. Now, this is not based on fresh money. Even in the existing system, the way it has worked is that the Urban Development Ministry has a set of funds, and that fund is allocated to various states. Now, the difference this time is that the funds will not just go to the state governments, but it will be specifically targeted for that specific city. So which means that at a level, the center and the state governments will work together for the specific city identified in that region, and the funds will go directly. So, the accountability of the system would be much sharper. But here it will be important to see whether each of the documents and the vision documents and the project plans that are presented by the urban bodies is in a way implementable. In many cities, Tracy, what is the other issue is that there are different bodies which manage the city. So when the plan is presented, the questions of who is responsible for each of the activities will also be critical.
Yes, absolutely. And very quickly, Pranjal, since you also somebody, you've been working in the business field for so long, give us an indication of what the industry does, of course, feel about the smart cities and which are the stocks which they are going to be looking at very closely.
The industry has been very keenly looking at how to participate, and in some cities already the private sector has had a role to play in terms of improving the water supply, in terms of improving the distribution of power, including some of the larger cities in the country. A lot of the smaller cities have also involved private companies in waste management, for instance, and water filtration, ensuring that effluents that go into the rivers in those cities are well managed. But it's all been done in a very patchwork kind of a way, in a very ad hoc manner. The industry would now be very keen to learn the terms of engagement under which they will be invited to participate in these projects, because remember, the industry is willing to participate, but it has to be done in a transparent manner, which means there has to be very public and transparent auction or a bidding process if private sector is to be involved. And secondly, there has to be very clear focus on return on the investment. Now, the private sector is willing to match some of the funds that the government is putting in, but it also wants to know how the funds would be utilized, plus what kind of returns they can expect on that. And here, in some of the cases, what's important is that there is a habit and a tendency in India for citizens not to pay for the services. So a culture of paying for services that are offered in the city may also be required to ensure that industry is keen to participate.
All right, big challenge ahead, but it's looking promising. Thanks so much, Pranjal, for joining us on this story. Without a quick break here, but still ahead after 29-hour countdown, ISRO launches the geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle D6. India's latest communication satellite GSAT-6 is put into orbit. Details of that in a bit.
Protest violence hits Gujarat. Quota agitation by Patidars, a flashpoint. Where are the fault lines? And what's the intent? Watch the big picture at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Now, ISRO has successfully launched its 25th communication satellite, GSAT-6, from Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh today. The satellite was propelled by satellite launcher GSLV-D6. Around 17 minutes after liftoff, the GSAT-6 was put into a geosynchronous transfer orbit, making the mission a success. Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari congratulated the entire ISRO team for the success. He also said that the launch underscores the dedication and ingenuity of our scientists and engineers. The mission marks the second successful GSLV launch using an indigenous cryogenic engine. The mission life of the satellite is 9 years. The heavyweight Indian rocket weighs 416 tons and is nearly 50 meters tall. The satellite will help India's strategic forces to communicate with each other on secure lines using special small handheld devices.
This is one of the shortest launch campaigns as far as GSLV is concerned. In fact, today is the 100th day of the launch campaign, which is sort of a record. Integration assembly team are behind the wheel, as well as the trust project and the NKC team, who did amazing work in completing the total activities in a very shortest possible time.
Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari today expressed concern over the dip in India's exports in the last 2 years. Addressing the 184th annual general meeting of the Calcutta Chamber of Commerce in Kolkata, he said the share of traditional exports has nearly halved, falling from 56.5% to 27.3% in the last 23 years. The Vice President expressed hope that the government's Make in India campaign will help India become a manufacturing export hub. On the occasion, the Calcutta Chamber of Commerce also honoured badminton player and Arjuna awardee PV Sindhu for her contributions.
Our export performance is crucially linked to the performance of its domestic manufacturing sector. India has the potential to manufacture and export a wide variety of goods. From the world's cheapest indigenous cars to Mangalayam, India has proved its mettle time and again. Still, India's share in global exports is a mere 1.7%, and manufacturing output as a percentage of GDP is around 13%, much lower than its Asian competitors.
And now shifting focus to education. More boys are dropping out from schools these days without completing elementary education. In a written reply to Parliament, the government has said this is only partly due to the poor academic performance. Let's take a look at what are the other factors that are preventing boys from studying.
Gone are the days when the number of girl dropouts in schools were a cause of concern. According to the latest figures, more number of boys are opting out of school than girls. Figures for 2013-14 show that against 39% boys, only 33% girls dropped out of school without completing elementary education.
This is not a dropout. This is actually pushed out, because the conditions from social condition, economic conditions, and they need more employment, job to serve their families.
In 2012-13, girls outnumbered boys 41% to 40.3% in dropping out of primary school. The trend reversed barely a year later, more in the upper primary classes from the 5th to the 8th standard.
Co-ed system is converted into morning for girls and afternoon for the boys. And then they suffer, boys suffer. In the afternoon schools, there is almost no teaching. No teaching takes place. People go to their villages. From urban, they go to villages, and initially they say they are going for a week or so, but they stay for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and that also results in dropout.
Despite the Right to Education Act and 100% enrollment, the quality of education and retention are very low. And after the success with girls, the government needs to arrest the dropout rate among boys. Anshu J. Singh's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And now changing focus to cricket. India and Sri Lanka will have a lot to play for in the final test starting tomorrow in Colombo. With the series at stake, injuries to top order batsmen have forced India to call in reinforcements. Sri Lanka too will be looking for someone to fill in Sangakkara's boots.
India is eyeing its first test series in Sri Lanka after 12 years. But the prospects took a hit after openers Shikhar Dhawan and Murli Vijay were ruled out because of injury. Adding to the woes, wicketkeeper Ridhiman Saha will also sit out in the key final test. Indian team has called in Naman Ojha to replace Saha, while Cheteshwar Pujara is likely to open with Lokesh Rahul. Despite a changed look, team director Ravi Shastri feels it is good enough to end India's series drought overseas.
We play for only one reason. We play to win. So we've got ourselves in a position now where if you win this test match, you win the series, which is massive. So there's no point being shy of going for a win. At the same time, it's not a case of being overconfident. You've got to have the right balance and go and play proper cricket like we did in the last test match over 5 days.
Sri Lanka too are likely to make a couple of changes to their batting lineup. After Sangakkara's retirement, Upul Tharanga could take up his place. The team is also likely to replace wicketkeeper Jehan Mubarak with Kusal Pereira. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Jamaica's Usain Bolt won a sprint double crown by winning the 200 meters at the World Athletics Championship. In fact, he recorded the fastest time of the year by winning in 19.55 seconds. The win is the 4th straight World 200 meters title for Bolt, beating rival Justin Gatlin into 2nd place. This is also the 5th clean sweep for Bolt in the individual sprints at a major global championship. Bolt now has 10 gold medals at the World Championships, and there's more in store if he wins as part of Jamaica's 4x100 meters relay team on Saturday. And that's all we have for you on the news tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.